All right, Jerry, we're at 9 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Currently, we show Rich is not being here today. Other than that, everyone else is. First things first, approval of the August 13 minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review them? If so, are there any corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Sorry, that was my alarm, my 9 o'clock alarm. It was not my phone ringing. Uh, Approval of today's agenda. If there's no corrections to that, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Our consent agenda. For the audience out there, if you'd like to follow along with our agenda on the back bookshelf, you can grab an agenda if you haven't already. And PJ, take it away.
All right, consent agenda. PJ Conover, Planning Department Director. The following items have been placed on the consent agenda for action to be taken on all items in accordance with staff's recommendations by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration. The findings of the Planning Commission are recommendations to the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, who will make the final decisions. Item 3, conditional use permit review 1038 for Robert Mills to review a home occupation and auto restoration shop in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1038 to the September 24th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Item 4, conditional use permit review 1621 for Jeff Liddell Family Trust to review an accessory structure, which is a barn, prior to a primary structure, and to also allow an RV to be used as temporary living quarters during future construction of a barn and single-family residence in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1621 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 5, conditional use permit review 1623 for Harlan and Carol Hoffman to review a recreational vehicle to be used as temporary living quarters during the summer months on the subject property in a low-density residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1623 with 11 conditions. Item 6, conditional use permit 1804 for Shelby Johnson and Jacob Woodland to allow for a specialty recreational resort and event venue to include music, weddings, markets, seasonal festivities, community events, festivals, rental space, tents, rentals, bed and breakfast. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1804 per the applicant's request with one condition. Item 7, construction permit review 1610 for the City of Rapid City to review the installation of a new sewer main for the City of Rapid City from Cobalt Drive East End to Auburn Drive then West End across existing pasture land. Staff recommends to end construction permit 1610. Item 8, construction permit review 1710 for Site Work Specialist Incorporated to review the excavating and stockpiling of material for off-site use for the South Valley Drive property. Staff recommends approval of the extension of construction permit 1710 with 10 conditions. Item 9, construction permit 1809 for Don and Karen Weber to place fill and level an area for an existing project. Staff recommends approval of construction permit 1809 with 7 conditions. Item 10, minor plan unit development amendment review 1706 for Coyote Blues Vintage Bed and Breakfast to review the existing unit development, the plan unit development to allow the road to be constructed with a 12-foot wide minimum surface area width and 4 inches of gravel, that a maximum of 10 bedrooms be utilized in the bed and breakfast establishment with a maximum occupancy of 24 persons at any one time, to remove condition number 13, and that the specific uses of this plan unit development be for resort development consisting of a 10-bedroom bed and breakfast and a residential development not exceeding 1 residence per 10 acres. Staff recommends approval of the extension of minor plan unit development amendment 1706 with 12 conditions. Item 11 is minor plat 1823 for Dan Wharton to reconfigure lot lines to create Lot 1R and Lot 2R of 40 Oaks subdivision. Staff recommends approval of minor plat 1823 with 5 conditions. Item 12, conditional use permit review 1722 for Pamela Phillips to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a permanent single-family residence on the subject property in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1722 to the October 8th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting.
Awesome. Staff, any items you'd like to pull off of the consent agenda?
Number 9 per applicant's request.
All right. Any members? Any of y'all would like to pull any off?
Number 10.
Number 10? Okay, any other? All right, any members of the audience? All those consent items that we just read through, they're going to be voted on with one vote for the exception of 9 and 10. Are there any other items that you'd like to have removed for consideration? Seeing none, that would leave our consent calendar for 3 through 8, and then 11 and 12. And if there's no others, I'd entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I
was going to bring it up, but if you want.
BJ brought something to my attention, because of time today. And I would like to present that to the membership here. If we can at least, even though we have 9 and 10 to be looked at, can we move item number 13 to be first due to some time constraints? And if there's no problem with that, I'd entertain a motion to move 13 to be heard first, and then we'll go back to 9 and go through the rest of them. Motion by Rich,
Second.
second by Sunny. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 13, please.
Good morning, Brittany Molitor, Environmental Planning Supervisor. Item 13 was continued till the applicant was available to answer some questions by the Planning Commission, and she is available now and in the audience. So if there's questions that the Planning Commission has for her regarding her conditional use permit, she is available.
All right. Everyone's aware of what's item number 13. It's been continued once from the original time, or has it been twice?
I believe it's been a couple times. I'm not certain on the number.
Okay. And if no one on the membership up here has any questions, I'd open it up for staff, then I will open it up to public comment.
Yeah, I guess I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
You know, the concern that we heard was about the traffic and the increased traffic and it appeared in reading the letters and so on was that there was a sense that when this was approved originally, there wasn't the expectation of having so much traffic, which there is. And I'd just like to hear from the applicant really what her perspective is on the alleged increase in traffic.
Okay. All right. I see she's coming forward.
Did you guys get the letter I emailed this morning from Paul Sheets?
Can you go ahead and state your name? And then,
Melissa Masters.
okay, thank you. I don't remember seeing an email this morning.
I printed out a copy.
Oh, I can make some copies for you.
I guess
Who is the letter from or to?
Paul Sheets, he's one of the people that live on the road.
All right.
So, I mean, I guess reading through the letter, there's a bunch of things in the letter that aren't true / are misstated significantly. I don't know if you want me to go through them all, but basically, I mean, most of the traffic, it's like I've told the neighbors, most of the traffic there has nothing to do with my business. I mean, I kind of went back through my calendar and there hadn't even been close to 50 people there in a year and how many ever months I've lived there. I mean, most of the traffic is not related to the business. It's people coming over. I mean, I'm not married, so pretty much any work I have done or anything, I mean, somebody's got to come do it. I've had contractors out doing property improvements and stuff, but I mean, as far as the business, there's not been that much traffic there.
Well, one of the main concerns is, yes, the number of vehicles, but also the speed at which the vehicles travel. I visited at length with Mr. Larson, the person who wrote, the longest letter. He indicated it is, you have access via easements off of private property, and they apparently have a sign posted that says 20 miles an hour.
Up to 20, it was 15, which I mean, 20 miles an hour, I don't feel like is a reasonable speed limit for that road. I mean, that's less than a residential zone in town. I mean, they just picked a number and.
I understand, but they own the land upon which the road
He actually owns the least amount of that road because the way that road comes in, it curves. So he actually owns the smallest amount of that road of anybody on the road, actually.
Oh, well,
A lot
I don't know,
across from him.
but they have posted a speed limit, and that is a concern.
But I mean, even like the whole somebody pulling out in front of him, I mean, that wasn't even the rancher. That's a guy that lives up the road that also should have a conditional use permit. There's several of my neighbors and several people in that area that don't have permits. He's not even the one that got pulled out in front of. It was kids, and that was a personal vehicle leaving my house. Like why that's getting even drug into this, I don't know. I mean, as far as road maintenance, the letter led you to believe that only the Matts and Dales and Larsons do road maintenance on that road. Paul Sheets is the one that's coordinated the whole road grader thing this year, and everybody chipped in. And then we had it re-graded because nobody wanted to spend the money to get it packed the first time. So when it rained, we had to redo it. And the Larsons were actually the only ones on the road that didn't contribute to that. And I plow, I mean, everybody kind of does their own part, but I'm the one that has to get out all the time in the snow. Usually I'm the only one that leaves for 2 days after a blizzard. So, I mean, the road gets plowed. So, I don't know. It's just the letter was a little misleading. And
Sure, but I understand they've set up meetings for you to attend that you haven't been able to. Would it be possible at all for you to initiate a meeting, sit down, visit with them?
it's not very productive. I mean, I went and talked to Paul and Terry Sheets and they attended, and basically it was just complaining about me. Like they got super frustrated with the whole situation. And I mean, I work 7 days a week. I'm always working. Like I mean, I can't turn down a $400 emergency call to go sit at a meeting for 2 hours and hear the same thing over and over and everybody just yelling at me, and they don't basically just want me to live there. And I mean,
Well, they apparently do want you to live there. They want you to provide the service, you know. So, it's kind of a mixed bag here as far as them wanting you there. Their concern is the number of vehicles, but I don't know who's got the time to, be counting how many vehicles, travel back and forth. That seemed a bit
and I mean, and not
absurd.
all of the traffic is even mine. I mean, the girl that lives at the end of the road, she already had one roommate. She got another roommate. I mean, you can't blame all the vehicles on the road for me. I mean,
I
other people live on
understand,
the road.
yeah. The purpose of this meeting today, however, is to review the conditional use permit. If there are other issues, and those would need to be brought up, separately and under other conditions, so. Does anyone else?
Anyone else have any
Mr.
questions?
Chair,
Go ahead.
I don't think she has any responsibility over how fast people go, and there's plenty of traffic in the neighborhood area anyways, so I would make a move to approve conditional use permit.
I would second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Can you hold just 1 second? I just want to make sure someone else didn't want to make a comment on this, or if there wasn't any other questions. I mean, I'm in agreement with that, but just in case, to give the public the right, to come up here if they do. Is there anybody else who'd like to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, there's a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
No?
Motion carries. Thank you. That takes us back to item number 9.
Good morning. Item number 9 is construction permit CP 1809. I did receive a call from the applicant this morning, and he would like this continued until the next planning commission meeting, so he can be here for his item, so.
All right.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 10.
And then item number 10 is minor plan unit development amendment review, PU 1706. And was there specific questions that?
I just had a couple of questions. Number one, why the amendment to the road requirement? I mean, it went from a 40-foot to, a 20-foot to a 12-foot road. Is there some reason for that? And I don't know what the layout of the place is, or the
Right.
amount of traffic and so forth.
Sure, and this was discussed when it was previously approved prior to this review. The concern came up of the cost, obviously, of doing it. and actually needing the road to be widened because there really isn't that much traffic on it. Every time that I've ever been out there, honestly, I've been the only vehicle on the road at the time. There are a couple curves on that road, and at the curves, they're widened enough so there are pull-off points that if someone would need to pass, that was
The only
allowed.
people who are being serviced by this is this B and B, or how many other?
There's a B and B and one home that's,
Okay.
I believe, to the west of the bed and breakfast.
Okay.
But typically, what the argument was at the time was that, people kind of leave in the morning and then they come back in the evening. So the traffic really isn't a lot of back and forth at the same
Right.
time.
The topography also was such that it was almost mathematically infeasible to widen it.
Oh,
It goes almost straight up.
Yeah, it kind of weaves around, but like I said, the road is in good condition.
So
It's
future
maintained.
development would be constrained by these geographic and geological factors? In other words, can you make the road wider, or?
You could, it'd probably cost quite a bit. The PUD does allow larger lots, so even if that was expanded, there would only be a couple of other properties that would take access off of it. As far as what's typical in the county, I would say it's typical.
Right, I know this is commonly done in the county, it seems like occasionally maybe it's inappropriate, but I'm not saying necessarily here. My other question is someone going to be living in this house, or is this just a B and B that, does somebody live here
Yes,
full-time?
yes. Yep,
Okay,
there are living quarters in the top portion of the bed and breakfast.
okay. So the distinction being between a B and B and a
Vacation home.
vacation home rental is that somebody lives there, well, someone has to serve the breakfast, of course, but the reality is that a requirement by the state, do you know? It
Yes,
is.
in order to be a bed and breakfast, and you have to have someone that lives there. And there is a living quarters in the top of that bed and breakfast.
All right, those are my only questions. Thank you, Brittany.
Any further questions?
And I just wanted to abstain from voting because I was a real estate broker that sold it to these people a year ago. So I'm prejudiced and biased.
All right.
Okay, I would move for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
And I am abstaining. Thank you.
Motion carries with one abstention. All right, that takes us to item number 14.
And item number 14 is a conditional use permit request, CU 1825, to allow for a single-family residence in a highway service district. Staff did receive a phone call from Mr. Whidbey on Friday, and he would like this continued one more time. I did explain to him if he recommends or asks for another continuance, he will have to pay the continuance fee.
Is there a reason why he wants it continued?
Yeah, well, we are recommending denial. He is trying to see if there's some way that he can establish some kind of use on the property that meets the highway service district, in addition to constructing his residence.
Okay, I just didn't know if he was trying to figure out if there's another way to go at it with his house, so, okay, fair enough. Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
why not just rezone?
That would be the recommendation of staff, but he wants to see if there's a use that he could establish on that property at this time with just the single-family residence.
All right. Any further questions? All right, current recommendation is to continue the item. Do we have a designated date or?
What's the next,
September 10th.
September
Okay, so
10th?
it's going to be continued to September 10th. All right, is there a motion to continue item CU 1825 to September 10?
Move to continue CU 18-25 to September 10th meeting.
Thank you, Rich. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Take us to item number 15? 16, 15.
Did you vote no, Travis?
No, I said aye.
Oh, okay.
I said all in favor, no.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I started changing what I said after being in another meeting. They didn't want to hear that same sign aye. They wanted it to change to no, so I've kind of gotten to that habit now. Sorry.
okay.
All right, so that's item number 15, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Cassie Bolstead, Assistant Planning Director. Item 15 is rezone 1806 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1805. This is a request to rezone 9.2 acres from General Agriculture District to low-density residential and to amend the Pennington County Comprehensive Plan to change from the future land use of planning and development sensitive to low-density residential. The applicant is TDG Real Estate, or Mike Gennaro. This property currently exists as two mining claims. In July, on July 17th, the Board of Commissioners did approve a layout plat to reconfigure the lot lines. He's keeping two lots. He's just creating one lot on the north side of the road and one lot on the south side of the road versus the way they are now being divided by Oak Meadows Road. So Glendale tract will be 5.12 acres, Hermosa tract will be 4.08 acres, neither one of which meets the general agriculture lot size. So that is why he is requesting this. Within half mile of the subject property, the current zonings are general ag, limited ag, low density residential and suburban residential. And future land uses are public land, PUD sensitive, low density residential and suburban residential. The nearest current zoning for low density residential is directly northwest of the properties. And the nearest, low density residential future land use is about 0.6 miles northwest of the property. So it appears that this request is in harmony with the surrounding zoning. So staff is recommending approval of rezone 1806 and comprehensive plan amendment 1805.
All right, any questions for staff? We've seen this one a few times, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
It says in the comments from U.S. Forest Service that TDG Real Estate LLC is not registered with the state of South Dakota. Are they the applicant? Or is this Mike Gennaro the applicant?
Mike Gennaro is the applicant. TDG Real Estate is the property owner of record, but Mike Gennaro is actually the applicant. And it's my understanding that Mike Gennaro is the owner, managing partner of TDG Real Estate.
He's the TDG Real Estate is the owner of record,
Yes.
but according to the comments, it says that they're not registered with the state of South Dakota. So do we have a imaginary entity owning property?
I'm not really sure. I guess I haven't looked into that situation. That was a comment that was made in the layout plat as well. And I guess I haven't fully looked into the situation other than talking to Mike Gennaro about it. And he just said that he's I think he called himself the managing partner.
Okay. That seems like that could pose a problem later on, trying to track someone down or having a source of responsibility for the property. So I guess I'm not opposed to the platting that he wants to do. I'm just wondering about the dotting the i's and crossing the t's as far as the owners are concerned. And I don't know if there's a way that we can make this moving this forward, making it contingent on having a real person or a real company be the applicant.
I can certainly look into it further. He still has one more step of the platting process before all of this becomes official. So I can certainly look into it further.
And what is that process?
The minor plat. He still has to apply for the minor plat.
All right, then
which I don't think he's done yet.
And it would still come through us.
Yes.
And the rezone still has 2 hearings before the board, and we can figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's move this forward.
All right, current recommendation is to approve rezone 1806 and comprehensive plan amendment CA 1805. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Rick, second by Jim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 16.
Item 16, let me get the presentation going. Item 16 is a conditional use permit to allow for 3 illuminated signs within 1,500 feet of a residential zoning district or dwelling unit in a highway service district. The applicant is Fatter Boys Inc. or Bob Fuchs. He is here in the audience today if you do have any questions for him. As this property exists today, it's zoned highway service. It's 1.62 acres, currently contains a retail store / restaurant and 7 wall-mounted signs. Now, these 7 signs were put together to create essentially three signs, these three signs that you see. There's one on the right side of the building, the left side of the building, and then the front of the building. So they were permitted as 7 separate sign structures, but that's what you see right there. So those sign permits were approved on June 1st. On July 31st, the applicant submitted the conditional use permit request to illuminate them. He's proposing 3 light fixtures above each sign for illumination. You can see them there in the pictures. He's got them labeled. It's my understanding that they're hooded fixtures that will point at the signs. So this was routed through the interdepartmental review process. Nothing of significant concern came back other than the county environmental planning supervisor noting that this property is within the special flood hazard area, including floodway. So any work that's done on this property does require a floodplain development permit, which Mr. Fuchs is aware of and has gone through the process for other things that he's done here. So there are 5 factors that you can consider with a conditional use permit application. The first factor is that the effect upon the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity. This conditional use permit shouldn't change the use of the property and therefore shouldn't have any long-term negative effects. However, staff cannot predict the impact that it may have on property values in the surrounding area. The second factor is that the effect upon the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. Allowing this conditional use permit should not affect the normal development, as most properties in this area are already developed. The third one is that utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or other facilities are provided, and it appears that they all are since this is an existing structure. The fourth is that off-street parking and loading requirements are met. It does appear that there is ample parking on this property. And the last one is that measures are taken to control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, vibration, and lighting so that none of these will constitute a nuisance. Since this is a lighted sign, it does have the ability to produce lighting elements clearly, so the applicant should take care to ensure the illumination of the proposed signs does not cause a nuisance to the neighbors or a danger to motor vehicles on the roadway. So staff is recommending approval of conditional use permit 1833 with 7 conditions.
Cassie, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Where on that bottom one are those light fixtures going to be? I could never see them in the picture. It's too dark for me.
Right here.
Okay, is that where they're going to be? Gotcha. I just wanted to make sure I understood
Yep.
where they're at. So.
And then these ones are,
Yeah, that's pretty easy. All right, any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, any members of the audience like to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, there's a current recommendation for approval of CU 1833 with the following 7 conditions. Is there a motion to that?
I would move approval of 18.
I second the motion.
Motion and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Takes us to item number 17.
Item 17 is a conditional use permit request to allow an existing recreational vehicle to be used as temporary living quarters in order to allow the applicant time to place a governor's home on the property in a general agriculture district. The applicant here is A&O Enterprises or David Finneman. This conditional use permit came about due to some ordinance violations on the property. The applicant did apply for this conditional use permit on July 5th, 2018. I did continue this at the last planning commission meeting in order for the applicant to clean the property. I did receive a phone call and a letter from 2 of the neighboring property owners last Wednesday on the 22nd of August. And they did bring up some concerns and objections that staff would like some time to look into. They had some concerns regarding ownership of the property, access to the property, the current state of the property, all things that staff would like some additional time to look into. So staff is recommending to continue conditional use permit 1831 to the September 10th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting.
Any questions for staff? Any members of the audience want to speak on behalf of this item? All right, seeing none, the recommendation is to continue CU 1831 to the September 10 Planning Commission meeting. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 18.
PJ Conover, Director, Planning Department. Item number 18 is conditional use permit 1832 to allow for a caretaker's residence on the subject property in the suburban residential district. The applicant is Katrina Roseland, who is in the audience today, and the subject property is 0.81 acres. Switching over here. In addition to the caretaker's residence, and as usually common with caretaker's residence, the structure that they're looking to move into is less than 20 by 20 to be used as a caretaker's residence, and so that's also in here as well. This is also the first time, I believe, the Planning Commission has seen tiny homes. There are some tiny homes inside the county in mobile home parks, but this one's going to be on a residential property, and I believe 10 by 50 will be the size. And tiny homes are an up-and-coming thing, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of them in the future. This subject property has 2 residents currently on it, one that was used as a caretaker's residence and one that was used for the caretaker. The care is no longer needed for the 2 people that it was intended for. However, now the person who gave the care is in need of care, and her son is going to be the caretaker on the property. There was a conditional use permit that was approved several times for continuation by the Planning Commission since 1990. Since one of the mobile homes is being removed, it's the one to the north, closest to the road, and be replaced with the tiny home. We just want to do a new conditional use permit, plus since care is changing as far as who the care is for. If this is approved, the conditional use permit from the 1990s will be ended, and this will take its place. There are 5 factors that need to be considered by the Planning Commission when making a decision for conditional use permits. And they're up on the screen for you, so I don't have to go read through them and take up a lot of time. But on the first one, it does not appear that by allowing this conditional use permit, there'll be any long-term negative effects, as this subject property has been used in this way since 1990. For number 2, we don't believe that allowing this conditional use permit will have any negative effect on the orderly development and improvement of the properties. For number 3, it appears that all other utilities and accessory roads are already provided, as again, this has been the existing use for several years. And for number 4, we do believe that there is adequate parking on the subject property for the parking requirements in section 310. And for number 5, that this conditional use permit by its very nature should have limited odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibrations, and intrusive light. Again, this has been on the property and used in this manner since 1990. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing 16 by 80 mobile home with a 10 by 50 tiny home. And due to the assumed temporary nature of caretaker's residence, once care is no longer needed, the caretaker's residence must be removed, or the property must be subdivided into 2 separate lots. And staff found no other concerns relative to this request. And with that, staff would recommend approval of conditional use permit 1832 with 8 conditions.
Thank you, PJ. Any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jim.
On E,
E.
are we bound somehow to demonstrate that this person needs medical assistance or care? I mean,
Yes.
There's a statement here that the doctor says that she's not in need of care. So are we somehow bound by that or not?
Not in need, that would be in misprint if it says not.
So that is a typo.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, well,
Okay.
we are required to get a doctor's note
Okay.
that says continuous care is needed.
That
We
was
don't
kind of
put
my
it,
assumption, but.
yeah, we don't put them in here. We actually lock them in the safe.
Okay.
And then lock them again in another box for privacy reasons. But we did receive that. The doctor did indicate care is needed, and that's all we can really talk about.
That was my only.
Sorry, that would be a misprint. I apologize.
Bob.
Fair enough. Any other questions for staff?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
You know, not that it matters and not that it's going to affect anything really, but I looked at tiny homes once upon a time, and they're 399 square feet. And 10 by 50 is not, does that include the hitch then, or,
No, tiny homes come in a lot of different sizes.
no, they're not a tiny home then? Then it's a mobile home.
Well, I don't know.
This guy knows tiny homes.
Okay, I'll believe him. I don't know if there was a
Does that make
size
a difference?
requirement for that.
That really doesn't make a difference in this though, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a 10 by 50 or
No.
10 by 60 mobile home, we'd still be at the same position we are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Well, I'll get with you, because if there's a size restriction on the labeling,
Well, I was gonna say,
I'd
but
like to learn that too.
don't we have a minimum size for our mobile homes technically, or a max?
No, we have a 20 by 20 living space.
Living
Which
space.
is why all the single wides you get, most of them, well, all of them are under 20, at least for one dimension, so that's why you see them.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Any further questions for staff?
Hey, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
PJ, I was wondering, is this just going to connect into the septic that's from
The
the home
current?
that's being removed, or how does that work?
Yeah, once the old mobile home comes off, and then this will be connected to the existing system. It'll have fewer bedrooms than the one that's there now.
Okay, just curious.
All right, any further questions for staff? Any members of the audience like to speak on behalf of this item? Seeing none, current recommendation is approval of the CU 1832 with the following 8 conditions. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I guess I just have one question before someone makes a motion so the existing mobile home will come off before the tiny home comes on, is that correct?
Correct. Yep, it'd be the one on the north closest to the road's coming off. It's actually, if you look at it, if I put it in here, they're prepping it already to come, to be removed.
Okay, that's all. So I'll make the motion to approve CU 1832 with 8 conditions.
All right, there's a motion. Did I hear Sonny, did you second?
Yep.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. That takes us to 19.
Item 19, the Board of Commissioners concurred with the Planning Commission's recommendations from the August 13th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. I do have one additional update because I know the Planning Commission will usually ask. Evangelistos were on that last meeting. They got continued until the next Board of Commissioners meeting.
I'm sorry, which?
Dan and Nancy Evangelisto for Plan Unit Development 1603.
Thank you.
Is that the one with their tent still?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That takes us to, where were we at? 20, items from the public. Anybody from the public like to speak? Have any issues? All right. Item 21, items from staff.
Yep. Item A is the 2018 South Dakota Planners Conference in Huron, October 17th and 18th. Right now, Michelle Hoffman from the State's Attorney's Office and I are going to attend. I got asked to do a presentation on short-term rentals of vacation homes. So if anybody is interested in going, our department does pay for the transportation and room and the registration. Just let us know as soon as you can. The agenda, at least last I checked, was not available yet for the other sessions that they're going to have.
All right. Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what are the next steps on the comp plan? Could you give like a 30-second update on that?
Yep. Right now, the matrix is going to put it out onto the website. Because of the county's challenging of a recent court ruling to the Supreme Court, staff has to get with the state's attorney's office to see what we're going to do in the future while that case is being heard. We may still just move forward with the comp plan on a regular basis, or we might hold off. I don't know yet. We just have to consult with them first. But the first draft is complete.
Okay.
Any further well, you got another item on there, don't you?
Yep. Item B is the on-site wastewater installers training, which we do every 2 years. It is a requirement of their installers to have continuing education to work in the county. That is October 5th. It is at the Journey Museum here in Rapid City. And if any of you would like to attend, just let us know as soon as possible so we can put you on the roll. And I believe food is provided, lunch, breakfast.
Is that,
Okay.
is that the training for the people that test the water?
No, this is for the people who install septic systems.
I see. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Nothing further.
Any further questions? All right, items from the membership. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.